is a Chuck and Chernoff special report. If you don't listen to this, you could get an STD. A bad one.
We shared this herpes.
Okay, so I told you this might be the most special of all the special reports we've done. I wanted this day to happen. I've waited for this day to happen. I'm thrilled this day happened. Rich McKay, the CEO of all things Arthur Blank, was on this radio station today with Dimino and Cellini. They were out at Lake Point Sports. In the background here is Arthur was going to be given an award, and so was Rich. So we joked yesterday there's no way Rich would sit down with Dimino and Cellini if he's paid any attention to what's being said for years from people like me or on this station or just in general, that Rich is very much involved, overly involved, has too much sway on Arthur. I think has been as big a hindrance in the success of this franchise. So I thought there was no way he would come on, and I was wrong.
Yeah, the pulse of the city and the fans and the media towards the team in this moment, drop them in a fishbowl of today right now after what just happened. Yesterday, we were talking about the head coach and the OC. Yeah, they're going to fire him. They don't have to fire him today, and that's fine, but they're going to. Like, it's so matter of fact. That's where everybody in this city is. And Rich was like, oh, yeah, I'll sit down.
So Rich sits down with Dimino and Cellini, and I want you guys to go hear the whole interview later. Oh, my God, it was wonderfully uncomfortable and awkward. And
Look on Twitter. There'll be a link.
On Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, all of it. I thought the guys did a marvelous job, though, of hitting all the things. Nick's tone, I was here for every bit of it. Like, I just loved it. All right, so let's get into this. Here is Cellini asking Rich the question we've all wanted to know about his involvement day-to-day with football operations.
I'm going to ask you a question because a lot of people are asking it, myself included. How involved are you in the day-to-day operations of what's going on?
So that's a good question. I'm the CEO, so that's my responsibility. Greg is the president and runs the day-to-day. I'm probably there one day a week, I would say I go up. I'd say that the operation is, listen, we lost a football game this week and a home game, and it's a really tough one.
Hold on, stop.
Stop. He's now no longer answering.
He started by introducing himself. Hi, I'm Rich. I work in finance. I'm glad you're I've LinkedIn. I can see what you do.
That's a good question.
Great question to start. How involved are you was the question in day-to-day operations? He gave his title, and then after about 5 seconds, pivoted to what happened on Sunday.
For everybody, especially for our fan base. But the season is still got a long ways to go, and we've got a lot of games to play. And that's one thing I think Raheem, I didn't hear all of his press conference yesterday, but I heard some of it. And I thought he did a good job of reframing and refocusing, which is an important thing for him to do.
Yeah.
So how involved are you, Rich?
That was the question.
So that's a good question.
So what?
And Raheem, they're working hard. He answered, how involved are you? Within like 10 seconds, he worked it to, Raheem and them, they're working hard right now to have an improved team.
He's done a million interviews. He was the GM here. He was the GM of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He speaks on behalf of the competition committee. And it's a good question. I'm a CEO, and Sunday was tough. So he didn't give his answer there because we all know the answer. Whatever title you want to give him, food and beverage, casino operations, he's Ace Rothstein. He's running things along with Arthur.
He's Arthur's Spangeli.
So here is Dimino getting into the act, asking about the typical Monday meetings where Arthur rolls into the facility and he sits down to get a once-over on what happened in the game and was Rich in the meeting on Monday.
Raheem said he did speak to Arthur, and they speak on Mondays. Are you part of that?
I was in that meeting. Yeah, he does do that. He's great that way. A lot of the coaches have done that, right? They sit there and they have just kind of a debrief. It's not a long meeting, but it's a good meeting because questions can get asked.
Okay. All right. We're establishing some things. So Rich was at the football meeting.
He was at that meeting.
Give me at least you were at the dinner. He was at the dinner. He was at the football meeting. I got Raheem as
the head coach the day after the game,
right,
when the head coach meets with the owner, and I was there.
I got the football coach and the owner doing a football meeting. Okay, we've established that much.
I'm not really involved.
Right.
No.
Now, I would say Nick asked Rich a question, but this is Nick essentially giving his opinion to Rich on how he thinks Rich is way too involved, and this was magnificent.
I said this yesterday. I think you have Arthur's ear too much. I think you're too involved in it, and others feel the same. What say you?
You're certainly entitled to say whatever that's what you guys do. I would say to you that I know the role I'm supposed to play. I'm supposed to help on the business side. I'm supposed to help when we come to big decisions on the football side to give Arthur whatever views it may be. But I haven't tried for years to be on the football side. That's not my role. My role is to support. My role is when they need something and they want to discuss something, I'm going to be there to discuss it with them.
That was a particularly amazing job of speaking out of both sides of your mouth within seconds, because he said, I'm there to help with the big football decisions, but I haven't tried to be involved in the football side of things for many years.
Just the really important ones that matter.
And, I'm at the Monday meeting where they talk football and, with Arthur and, Raheem. I'm there, but when they need, the big football decisions are, like the head coach gets hired, the GM gets hired, the GM gets fired, the head coach gets fired. I'm involved in those, but I don't want to be involved in football.
You're certainly entitled to say whatever that's what you guys do.
Rich, they're not going to you to decide, do we go Sprite or Mellow Yellow on the gun? Like, we're not really sure which one that last spot is. They don't go to him for that. They go to you for, I don't know, the head coaching meetings and the interviews and Dawsey and everything else. Like, the ones that really matter, they're going to you, Rich.
Here's what surprised me. And once you guys hear the entire interview, the tenor of the interview tells me that Rich did not think any of this was coming. And that's on him. That's not on Nick and Chris. If you're sitting down for a puff piece interview, which a lot of times is the backdrop to when we get guests, right? They're pushing a product. They're coming on and talk about an award. There's a big event coming up. Okay, that's the backdrop. Rich has to know, coming off that loss Sunday, 7+ years of not making the playoffs, there have been questions about it. If he doesn't know that, he can't read the room.
Let's move on.
That shocks me. Like, that he couldn't read the room and know these things were going to be fired at him.
You hadn't had a home playoff game for your season ticket holders, for your PSL people. You hadn't had a home play, and you've only had 2 playoff games otherwise, and one of them was not good. But you hadn't had a home playoff game in 7, now 8 seasons, and I don't think you're going to have a home playoff game this year. 8 seasons in that building. Okay, so it continued. Again, Rich McKay was on with Dimino and Cellini today. You can hear the entire interview up at 680thefan.com. Nice. You can hear it up at our 680 The Fan mobile app, anywhere you get your interviews, socials, links, all of it there. Nick and Chris asked specifically the question that I so wanted to hear, because I already know the answer, but I wanted to hear how Rich addressed how involved he was with kiboshing the Bill Belichick hire and pushing for Raheem to get the job.
How involved were you with the whole Belichick thing and then Raheem Morris getting hired?
The interview process was, there was a group of, it's another question. So I would say there was probably 8 people maybe that were on that group that went through that whole process. I was certainly one of them, but so it was a big group.
It's this guy.
Okay, it's another question.
That was another question.
Okay, it's another question.
You're right, Rich. That was another question. And I don't believe there were 8 people involved. I think the people in that room are the obvious. Arthur's at the head of the table. Beatles, whatever Beatles does. Beatles was there. Rich was there. The Nepo blank was there. Maybe Terry, because, Terry's in the room. Terry is here. Terry's probably there.
Terry actually is here.
Terry's here. That's your group. Like, are there some other smaller opinions that maybe Arthur will lean to? Sure. That's the group. And then he looks over his left shoulder and sees Beatles and says, Greg, you over there. Rich, what do you think? And then Rich says, if Belichick comes in, I'm out of a job. And if Belichick comes in, we're probably all fired. So I would tell you Raheem makes more sense. And Arthur's like, yeah, so okay, let's go with that.
Yeah, and by the way, my hand went up. When all this story came out about how everybody had been whispering, hey, you don't want that guy. It's like, who among us would not do the same thing? Hey, they're going to hire a new boss at 680, Chuck, and if they hire this guy, you're going to be fired. I'm going to, hey, you don't want to hire that guy.
Do you know the problem is?
We've done the same exact thing. So I understand, but you need to understand it's human nature, right. and we believe that you did it.
But the problem is, I wouldn't have asked you. That's where Arthur's thinking is all wrong on this. I'm not asking Rich at that point because he's doing self-preservation. What you just said is 100% right. The flawed thinking on Arthur is, Rich is not going to give me a straight answer because Rich's big fat salary goes away the day that Belichick comes in and cleans house. We all know that. So, yeah, we would have all done the same thing, but none of us would have been asked.
He went to an unreliable avenue to get that opinion. Okay, you got the predictable opinion. I'm gonna tell you something that will put me out of work. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever gone out of my way to do that.
Here's the last one, and this might have been this is something. I want you to hear Nick's tone because it's perfect. I wouldn't even say passive or just aggressive because I don't know what anybody does all day. Like, I know what I do. I do a radio show. I don't know what people do all day. Get to the office at 8:30, you leave at 5:30. How do you fill your day? Well, Cellini wanted to find that out with Rich McKay.
I asked the question yesterday. I don't know what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis. What is it that you do as the CEO of the Falcons? Because sometimes you say you're involved, then you're in meetings, and you're not involved.
So I'm the CEO of AMBSE and the CEO of the Falcons. On the Falcon side, I'm really the support there for Greg and the coach and others. I still have my league stuff that I've got with the competition committee stuff. I'm still in those meetings that you describe, but I'm much more at a higher level.
And I get lunch at about 11:30. Sometimes, I got to get home to get the dog, walk him at about 1.
I'm in those meetings, but at a higher level.
In those meetings that you describe.
He said, but at a higher level. Okay, that means he's not meeting with the regional scout about the TCU and SMU and Houston draft prospects. At a higher level, I'm in the office with Arthur when there is a big decision to be made.
Whatever the head coaching decision has to be made, hiring or firing, the GM coach or the GM hiring or firing, there's where Rich is involved.
Rich, we're going to get a new caterer in the lunchroom. Do you want to handle this? No, you don't? That's below you?
But here's what I would...
another question.
I would tell Arthur, not that he cares what I think or any of us think, it's such a toxic discussion about Rich McKay. And none of us know what Rich does on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure he has high-level executive board things.
He's become almost symbolic. Correct.
That when it's football, the name Rich McKay is just toxic of why haven't things gone better? Maybe Rich has too much of Arthur's, as Nick said, ear, attention, ability to sway him. But Arthur's never going to, like in some abusive relationship, never going to break away from Rich, so he'll never know what else is out there to hear another opinion.
Now, one thing that Rich mentioned a couple of times in these clips that has been their constant line. I don't think that this is true because it can't be true. But one thing Rich mentioned a couple of times, which you've heard from Raheem, you've heard from Terry, you've heard from Arthur, everybody makes all decisions. Like nobody will sign their name and I have the responsibility and it was my call. No one will sign their name. We collaborate. Everything is collaborative. Mm-hmm. 8 people. All decisions are made by all employees.
Well, you know the truth, though. Arthur's always
in charge.
And he should be. It's his money, and I
so
get it.
If you're in charge of Arthur.
That's the key, Charles. That, yes, Arthur's the last line, but when Rich has his ear enough to say, I think this is the move you should make, and Arthur trusts Rich. Think about any relationship, business, any of it, and you're like, I trust this person's football acumen. Rich has been in this game for 4 decades. He comes from a football family with his father as a head coach. Yeah. So I think Arthur has such a belief in Rich that I don't think Arthur can see outside of what Rich believes. Because I think Arthur wanted Bill. I have no doubt. Arthur wanted Bill. That was going to be his lasting hire, that I finally got the guy that I wanted, my white whale, and Rich and a few others, but mostly Rich, talked him out of it.
And there's a lot of credibility when you get somebody like that. Yeah, Rich McKay, remember, his dad was the first head coach ever for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His brother was a wide receiver. J.K. McKay was on the team, and then Rich grew up in the team facility.
See, kids, nepotism has been going on for decades. It's not new.
Oh, absolutely. And so this is, how do you feel if you're one of the other? Because I think Arthur has 2 older sons with his first wife, and then Josh has a brother, doesn't he?
I don't know the family
like,
tree.
how are you feeling if you're the other brother?
Yeah, Part, you got some unfinished business on the blank family tree for us.
Yeah, Part.
Yeah. I think, though, that Josh has a football interest. I don't think the others probably, from what I've heard, are as into it. I think they have their other business interests.
Okay.
Because they're making the money either way off dad.
I know somebody, I graduated with somebody, actually high school. His dad owned a used car lot in Lawrenceville. He said his entire life, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't know anybody who said dad owns an NFL team. I don't want anything to do with it.
You went to school with Tom Jumper? If you know, you know. That's enough.
Let's move on.
There's our special report. Man. Falcon lifers, man, it ain't easy being us. It is just not easy.